Hello and welcome to another ARCHLine.XP webinar. This is the fourth part of our intermediate interior design webinar course session. And today we are going to talk about kitchen design, especially when it comes to cabinetry. My name is Zoltan, I'll be your guide today. I'm working as the partner manager of ARCHLine.XP, and I'm not only doing that, but I'm also a modeling and CAD enthusiast. So what I am going to do today, I'm not only going to show you how to do certain things in ARCHLine, but I'm also going to tell you a little bit of tips and tricks I picked up along the way. So the project that we are going to work on is mostly about kitchen elements, but the things that I'm going to show you are basically about how to design carcass furniture, cabinetry, cabinet doors and things like that. So you could be using these practices for even bathroom design or other built-in wardrobes maybe. So last time we talked about how to handle your project content. I discussed how to avoid making your project too heavy, how to clean your project, and how to make your design process a bit more efficient. Today is a different topic. It's more modeling oriented. Before we dig in, let me show you our website again that I do every day. www.archlinexp.com/webinars. Here you can see the upcoming shows that we are going to have, and the previous ones we already covered. So we discussed material editing using architectural data, and yesterday I had managing project files, but we also have a number of other projects and topics covered. So make sure you check on this. Before you dig in actually for today's session, I suggest you take a look at the kitchen design preliminary course that we did. If you haven't watched this before, that's fine, that's okay. Make sure you do that because we are going to make some references to this topic. So if you want to know the basics of cabinet design, this is where you should be starting. And if you want to follow along the course and do the same thing as I do, then download the webinar files that I'm using and download the course guide. Now, the course guide is just amazing because it tells you everything you need to know about the things that we are doing with all the dimensions and where to click and what to enhance and what to edit. So this is a very good handy companion to the topics that we are going to discuss today. So let's jump right in. As always, I'm encouraging you that if you have any questions, ask them on the right hand side next to the video or below in the chat bar. Now, this is where we want to end up with. Let me tell you what we are going to discuss today. So first, I'm going to show you how to create a customized cabinet front. So especially if you have a built-in or hidden recessed handle. That's a very good topic. That's a very basic element for modern kitchen design, so you need to know how to do that. Also, I will show you how to customize the cabinet's front panel, how to recolor them. We'll discuss how to make a curved furniture piece and a curved worktop, and also the plinth. And also I'm going to discuss what happens if you have design issues and mistakes like the one you see on the picture. I will show you how to amend this kind of thing. So let's just fire up the initial stage of this project and carry on from there. Like I said, in the webinar file folder you can find all the files that I'm using today. So let me just fire up the first version, which looks similarly to what we have here, but there's a couple of things we have to fine-tune. So the first thing I have to do, and that's just a very quick reminder, is how do we create a furniture front and a drawer for an element. So we already discussed this previously, that if you click on any of the cabinet pieces, then the whole thing is going to be selected, and if you go to the pencil icon, then you end up in this editor view. Instead of explaining what these tabs are doing, I'm going to do that later on. Let's just jump right in and go with the one which is called dividers, because with this, if you click on an element, you can add vertical or horizontal dividers, either with or without a shelf. So I'm just going to make just division only and hit the check mark. Well, seemingly nothing happened. However, something did happen. There is now a logical division between these two spaces, which means that if I want to add for example, a drawer, then all I have to do, I just have to click on the part where I want to add the drawer and just create it. Now, I'm not particularly fond of this material, or maybe I am. Let me just add another one here. And let's say I want to change the material to one of these. So let me just click on this element and go to this tab, the third one from the top, where I can disable the apply the default value and add another texture, which should be, let's say, this wood number 11. So with this you can customize how the front of the furniture looks like. Simple enough. Let's just hit OK and see what we did. Let's assume that I want to change more panels. I want to change them one by one. What do? Well, it's simple. You just go to the Design Center and find the same texture as I applied here. Texture is called wood_11, if I remember well. No, it's just wood 11. Yep. So just, you know, drag and drop and release. And the software asks you, what do you want to do with this furniture front? I want to use it as a front for this particular element. I click OK, and here's one problem. Namely that I only wanted to change this one, but the software changed every single instances. Why is that? Well, that is because when I do this, and I say use as carcass front, the software is going to find all the same instances where the default values haven't been changed yet, and it's going to replace every one of them. So that's obviously not what we want. So let's just hit Ctrl Z, or, you know, just hit the undo button. And we have to be trickier than that. We have to change things one by one, and that we can do again by going into the furniture maker and find the element that we want to change. Now, how do I select the panel? Well, you could be going to the dividers and the doors icon and just find the one that you're looking for, but instead there's an interesting tool for that. So if you are at this stage, if you want to select something, just hit the Alt key and click on the panel. Click on the panel that you want to change, and then the software jumps straight into the door manager. So you don't have to toggle back and forth. You just have to just Alt and click on the door, and then you are able to edit that. So let's just change the texture for this. We go to the second tab. We disable the apply default, and now the software automatically plays the last one that I placed. But if I want, I could change it to something else. But for now, I'm satisfied with this. So this is okay. By the way, this is what we are hoping to achieve. So that is my guide for that. I'm not changing these at random. So let's go with the next cabinet tool. Again, Alt click on the door, and then this tab, apply the default, and then I could be changing it to something else or just accept it as it is. Okay, and there's one last one I have to change, and that is this one. So just hit the pencil icon. This is a weirdly shaped cabinet, but this curved part is the one what I want to change. So just Alt click, and then I change it to, again, this brownish material. Okay, simple enough. Once we are done with that, we are going to go into a bit more advanced direction, because we want to make sure that there would be a panel door for this cabinet which has a hidden or built-in handle. Now, how do we create that? Well, for that we have a very versatile tool that we call a furniture panel or cabinet door. It's under Interior, KBB, Cabinet Door. Now, the name is a bit misleading, I admit that, but the thing is that with this tool you can create, how should I say, panels which have insets, additions, subtractions, whole even, other colors, extra elements, and as it so happens you can use it to create cabinet doors as well, but you could be using it for anything else. For example, once I created a guitar body out of it, so you just find the section, or sorry, the profile with which you want to cut this element, and then the software does the rest. So just click on something with which you want to cut this to certain pieces, and then the software does that. So let's just close this for a second and go back to the original stage when I only had the just a very simple rectangular cabinet door like that, and I want to create a door which has a handle over here. So what do we do? First, let's leave it as rectangle simple. Do I need to change the sizes here? Well, that's the funny thing, you don't, because this is going to be a parametric furniture element. Well, what does that mean? It means that whenever it's going to be rescaled, certain values are going to be kept as they were. I'm going to illustrate that later on, so you don't have to care about that much. So first thing, we have to change the material to match this. So we go to this tab, it's called the front material, and here I need to find something else. I think maybe an ash, kind of old ash tree. I think that's fine. Okay, so far so good. So what do we do now? We want to make sure that there would be a handle over here. For that, there are 4 tabs we can use. The first one creates insets. That is very good if you have, let's say, a glass panel over here. The second one creates holes. So if you have a hole that you want to drill, then you can do that. So you can add even a glass panel in it. If you want to get rid of what you just created, just hit the X. So you're back to square one. the third tab, and that is what we are going to use. It's called Subtract. Now, what does this do? It works like this. You find a profile from this library with which this section profile would be dragged around. So let's just accept this, see what happens. So this is the idea. The software is using this rectangle over here like the blade of a saw or a milling machine, and it's going to drag it around this profile. I hope this makes sense. Let me just illustrate another example, because now what we want to make the software cut the top of this panel. So what do? We find a horizontal line, which is going to be, if I hit the check mark, you see what is going to happen. So it's going to cut its place, but that's not what we need, so let's just delete that. We want to make sure that the cut goes from side to side. So let's get familiar with these padlocks over here. Let's just disable same offsets. And I want to make sure that the line goes from 0 here to 0 there. So let me just do that. 0, 0. Okay, so far so good. And I want to make sure that this is pushed all the way to the top. So how do I do that? Well, first of all, I need to unlock the value which I'm allowing the software to manually modify, and I'm going to add the value manually to the places where I want to override this value. Hopefully this makes sense. So just to illustrate, if I add the value of, let's say, 200 millimeters, then this is unchanged because the software is, you know, dynamically readjusting it. But if I add 0 here, then the blade comes to the top. Are we done? Well, not really, because the next thing what I have to do is I have to fine-tune how my, let's call it a blade or a milling machine, whichever you prefer. So how that section profile looks like. And that I can define here with the profile. I think the rectangle is fine for me. But one thing is not fine, and that is the size, which I can change here. So the size should be, I think it should be 40 millimeters times... scaling, uniform scaling has to be disabled, otherwise the software is going to readjust the two sizes. So this has to be 20. I think this is done. Are we done with this? Well, not quite, because we need to make sure that the, let me just hit OK, and then you can see the problem. So you see that this section is pushed to the side. So if I hit the check mark, I see that there is one cut, but instead I want the whole side cut. I'm sure you understand what I mean. So I need to push this profile to the left. How do I do that? I go back to this setup over here and change the reference point to the top left, I think. Yeah, there we go. So now what I ended up with is a panel which has a cut in the top. Now, why did I make this cut in the first place? Well, that is because I want to have an addition here, which would be the handle itself. So let's proceed with the this tab over here that's called Add. And now this time I'm going to add a horizontal profile, which is actually going to be the handle. So how do we do that? Again, we go with the horizontal. It's down here. So I need to push it all the way to the top. 0. Yeah. So like that. I'm going to disable that. 0, 0. I think this is good. And now comes the time when I have to find another cross-section profile for this. And luckily, I think I have to go a little bit downwards. Or first, let's see what happens if I accept that. I need to find a profile in my library which is better for my purposes, and that profile would be... let's find something in the library. I think it's called Aluminum 2. Here we go. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake over here. That's something that you should never ever do. Instead of adding the section profile, I added the path profile. Let me just go back to horizontal and go to the second tab, and here I have to add the Aluminum 2 profile. Okay, here we go. So now what is happening here is that there's going to be a handle over here, but it's sort of levitating above my panel. So I go back to the cogwheel and change the reference point to this one. And I think the sizes, let me just take a look at the sizes if it makes sense. 40 times 20, that's good. Okay, I think this is all good to go. So let's just hit the check mark. And here we go. I ended up with an addition, which is the handle itself. But, you know, that's not really good because it's the same color, which could be fine. But I want to have another color to it. So I'm going to the paint bucket. and I'm going to use another material which should be what should be, I think, a bright aluminum would be fine. Here we go. So I think we are done. How do we use that? Well, we have to go to the this saving icon, which is interestingly still a floppy disk. So I'm not sure how many years have to pass until we start using, I mean, softwares in general start using something else, but everybody recognizes this icon, right? So even though people nowadays don't know what a floppy disk is, but you know, still that is the international icon for saving. So when we save something, let's give it a name. So this should be a front with a hidden handle, or maybe built-in handle, whichever you want to call it. Hidden handle, and it's going to be an ash material, and top is the designation that the handle is on the top. So category, well, it could be anything, but if you log this carefully, then you can find them easily. So let's just hit OK, and hit OK again. So this is weird, you might say. The panel that I created is large. So how do I replace things on my model if it's larger? Well, that's the thing. That's the way parametric modeling comes into the picture. It doesn't matter how large the object was. It's going to be scaled. So let me show you how that works. How can we change a couple of panels? Well, before I do that, actually, I think an extra thing I have to do, I see that I have a couple of panels with different textures, so probably I would need to go back to my object library, find the object that I just created, and make additional copies of it with maybe a bottom handle or another texture. So let's just do that. So clicking on the cogwheel icon, no, I just double click on the model. I need to have 3 additional versions. One is where the handle is actually on the bottom. The other version would be the handle is on the bottom and it's a different color. And the third one is the handle on the top with a different color. Sounds complicated, but it's not complicated at all when I start doing that. So click on front material, and let's create first the one which has a different color. Simple enough. So let's just go to the floppy disk. Don't click save because that's going to override what you just created. Instead, click save as. And now I'm just going to rename this element so as to designate that it has a different material. Just like that. Okay, simple enough. Next thing, we have to define where the handle actually is. What do? We go back to the subtract icon and say that this subtraction comes at the bottom. So unlink this and enable this tool and say 0. Okay, what happened? The cut part is at the bottom, but the handle is gone. Well, it's not gone, it's still there, but it's in the solid. So I have to go to the add profile tool, and again, lock this element and unlock this one and say this is 0. I think this is good now. Well, this is pretty good. So let's go back to the floppy disk icon, save as, front hidden, and instead of top, it's going to be bottom. And I think the only thing missing now is one version of this which has ash as a material. So let's just go back to the first tab, front material, ash, and again, I'm saving it as it should be. So let's just... This might seem cumbersome, but don't forget that you don't have to do this over and over again, because gradually you are going to build up your library anyway. So you see all the things that I created, they are already here. So close. Already saved this. Yes. So now we are going to gradually replace the fronts. How do I do that? Let's well, let's start with I have to look at the reference because that shows me where the doors are opening. So let's start with the one in the top left. So going back, I need to have the front hidden bottom here. So just drag, drop, use as carcass front. Yeah, I just did the same mistake as I did before. Sorry, that's not how I'm supposed to do it. So let's just go back to the furniture maker, click on the door, and change it to something else here in the door options. Let's just hit the plus, go to the object library, and find it. The one with the bottom panel. Here we go. And yeah, the size is not great. Let me just I think the size is something I messed up accidentally. So let me just show you how to fix that. So when you're in here, when you're editing the doors, you have the ability to open up the furniture maker, and then you can change the height to something else if that is what you need. I think I made a design mistake over here, but if that happens to you as well, then this is how you can amend that. Or maybe there's another way. You'll get the idea. So let's just hit OK and proceed with the other elements. Let's say I want to change the elements here. I'm just going to alt click and go to the door icon, and again find the one that I need, which is the front hidden. Here we go, one here, and another one should be there. I'm just wondering why the handles are slipping together, but I will take a look at that later on and try to fix that. Yeah, here we go. Let's just try to find another one in this library. Oh, here we go, that's much better. So that way you can gradually, one by one, fix the handles. Let's just open up a new version where all these things are fixed, so I don't have to spend too much time on that. But that is the idea in terms of how to change the handles into hidden handles. So that is where we are, but one problem that we see here is that the handles are sort of cutting into the furniture. So that is going to look very, very bad on your renders. So how do we amend that? Well, we have to click on the furniture and first investigate what the problem actually is. If I zoom in, I see what is happening here. The way the furniture panels are cut together is not good at all. So I have to fix that somehow. And for that, there's a panel which is called Custom Edge Properties. And here you can define how the edges are sort of milled and cut together. So what do? There is one red line and a bunch of blue lines. The red line is showing me what is the edge which is currently selected, and using this toggle I can move back and forth between the edges. And then I can just find the edge what I don't like and change the cut to something else. Well, if that's still not solving the issue, you have to go with custom, because when you use custom, the software is going to take into consideration the certain profiles that you added beforehand. So this is something that you would have to amend one by one, but this way, hitting OK, we already fixed this one. Let's fix the other one. Go to the properties, and here again, I go to the edge menu, try to find the edge what I'm looking for, and go with custom here, and go with custom there. Okay, I think this is much better. This was just a short detour, but this shows you what to do when you have a design problem like that one. I think the next topic that we have to discuss is, you see that this kitchen is full of curved furniture pieces, but I never actually showed you how to create one. So we are going to make one here. It's actually marked with blue helping lines on the 2D. So this is where I want to create a cabinet. Let's discuss how it's done. So everything starts with the cabinet maker. We go to KBB, cabinet, and we end up with a very simple like carcass furniture. The first thing we have to decide is the material, which I think should be, what should it be? I think that should be the ash kind of panel. If I don't find it, then yeah, I think this one is good enough. And we go to the door as well. That's true that we don't have a door yet, but we are going to have one later on anyway, so we have to figure that one out as well. Let me just consult my chart to see which material I need to add. Yes, one thing I forgot to do is not to have any handles. So yeah, I think the handle is now hidden. Here it's hidden as well, just to make sure, because we don't want any handles here whatsoever. So let's go back to the panel and find the right texture. Oh, sorry, ash front, that's the one. Okay, and then we have to get the shape right, and that we do over here with shape. Now, well, how do we actually copy this shape to this one? For that, we have a list of predefined shapes. So you can say that this is actually a corner unit. You have a corner unit with a cut edge, but we have a custom form. Now, what does this do? Well, the custom one says that there are predefined geometrical shapes with which you can cut this cabinet into certain pieces. but that's still not good enough for us because this is a customized shape and I can't find anything here which I like. So I have to click on the Add Object tool, which ends up with this box. Now, what is this even? This is a 3D shape which works like this. It has 3 projection profiles, and based on how you are changing these profiles, the object is going to be cut. So for example, if you add some kind of well, how should I say, profile here, then it's going to be cut like that, so like this. But that's obviously not what we want, so let's just try it another way. So we go again with this tool, and we want to make sure that this profile is cut this way. So how do we do that? We click on the star icon, which is actually about how to create a new polyline or a profile, and we just going to keep on clicking. We click here like this, and we say I want to have an arc up until to this point. That's fine, and I want to go all the way here and hit enter, and when I do, I end up with this shape, and if I hit OK, then the cabinet is going to take up that shape. Neat, isn't it? So next thing I have to decide on the size, because the size is not good at all. The total height should be, I think, 850, but let me just consult my numbers to see if that is good. Let's just keep on scrolling until I find it. Yes, it's going to be, I think, 850. Yes, total height is 850, and the carcass height is 700, and the legs have a size of 100 millimeters. One thing I haven't done, and I think that I should have done that a little bit earlier, is changing the texture, the color of the item. So I'm just going to go with I think we go with front with hidden handle, the one which has the handle on the top. I think that this is good enough. Okay, and then comes the part when I have to actually add the door. This is weird because you see that one part of the cabinet is open, the other one is sealed off. So what does this depend on? Well, it depends on how you designate the sides to behave. So if you go to this tool, it's called Custom Panel Properties. You can click on one of the sides and tell the software what this should be. For example, this part, this door, for example, let's just click until it's selected. This should be a, sorry, I'm just going to go back here. This should be a front. I'm sorry, that should be the bottom. I didn't have the right one selected. This is what happens if you are in too much of a hurry. So if you cannot select it that way, just hit this icon and that goes the way it should go. So this is what we ended up with, a furniture piece with the front sort of missing. After that, we go with the custom side panel. No, sorry, we go to the door itself. So just Alt click on the element. Or no, let's just first go to door. And here I can load up a door which I like. So again, disable the apply default, and it should be a front with a handle on the top. So let's just hit that icon. There's a handle over there which I don't need, so I'm just going to disable that. And for this part, again, Alt click, and this should be also a door. Let's just go back to the door. And here there should be a door, but that should be a fixed one. So even though it's the same panel like this, it should be fixed. So that way what we achieved is now we have two panels. One can be open, the other one cannot be open. So that is actually what we wanted to create. You could save this. For now, I'm not going to save it. I'm just going to hit OK and place it the way it's supposed to go. So let's just see it. Marvelous. That's what we wanted to achieve, but there's a problem that we just saw, and namely that the kitchen top, the worktop, is not that good. So how do we fix that? We go to the 2D and we highlight the kitchen top, and we see that's the plinth. And if you cannot find something on the 2D, go to the 3D, click on the element. Let's just highlight this, right click and say show on floor plan. So now you can see the whole polyline. Well, it would be too much work to rework this, so instead of reworking it, I'm just going to hit delete and getting rid of it. We go to KBB, countertop by profile, and we just start drawing the countertop like that. So let's just do it like this and hit enter. Well, this doesn't really look anything like the one I wanted, so this I have to customize and modify. And how do we do that? Well, first thing we have to customize is the layout itself, or how it looks like, how the bands are going. But the problem is that if I click on the worktop, I can't access these nodes. Well, that is because for that you need to enter what we call a component mode. In the component mode, if you click on this, or let me just hit escape, just hit Alt, and then click on the sides, you now have access to all the nodes it has to offer. So let's just hit the nodes and move it to someplace else. I think it should go here, and this part has to be curved. And let's proceed. This node comes over here, and there should be another node, so I'm clicking insert node here. This has to be curved again. Okay, we are getting there. So this node has to be moved. And it's like this. So are we done? Well, not really, because there are some weird shapes over here, breaks in the curvature. So let's just click the element and go back to its properties and fine tune them a little bit more. First thing I want to get rid of is this cut over here. That is the sort of like the joints. You can decide how the joints look like, but if it's like this, I just go with no joint at all. Next thing I have to define is the color itself, and that can be customized here in the material, and that should be, I'm looking for something brighter, so let's just go with the blue plus icon and look for G110 and find it in the library, hit OK. So this is getting better, but still I have a backsplash and the nose, which I don't need, or I need them, I just don't want them to be like that. So let's go to this nose or countertop edge, depending on how you call it, and find another profile for it. I think this planter would be fine. Yeah, I think this is much better now. And the sizes, well, I think I'm good with the sizes. I'm just wondering why it hasn't cut itself the way it has to go. And we go to the backsplash, which should be a rectangle, and the rectangle size should be, I think, 10 millimeters times 30 millimeters, like that. Let's just hit OK. And now let me just make one, let's just try one thing with this worktop, because I'm not sure why the nose was created like that. So okay, this is something I have to look into. Obviously when I did the trial, it worked the way just it was supposed to. But that's just the charm of live shows. The other thing I have to figure out is the plinth, which is going down here. Now the problem with this plinth is that it goes all the way here, but it stops. So how do I make it go around? Well, I can do that by going into the 2D again and moving the nodes like that. So I'm moving one of the nodes over here to this point, and I would need to have an additional node over here, and then I make a curve just like that. So that way I can make the plinth go all the way around. Previously, I think when I had a show about kitchen design, somebody asked how do I move vertically the plinth, and that you can do either by clicking on it and changing the base elevation here, or just clicking on the blue axis and move it vertically. Last thing we have to do before we finish up, and for that I think I will load up the final stage of this project so as not to repeat myself too often. And then we do the less modelly and more calculation related part of the job, which is about creating a consignation, a quantity takeoff if you like. And that we do with the Excel list. We go to documentation, we go to quantity takeoff, and we go to Excel list and choose the profession that we are doing. So this is going to be an interior calculation. And here I'm disabling everything except for the cabinets, and hit OK. Software asks me where do I want to save my Excel. I'm just going to save it into the same folder where the webinar content is, and then I ended up with, if I have Excel on my computer, obviously things open up automatically. I have a furniture summary. Not only for that, the detailed furniture list, I have all the furniture pieces I created with all the details that I have added them with. So all the things I added to them are going to be listed here. So that is for documentation. The software is also able to make a cut list. I'm not going to show you that today, but you need to know that too. Let's go for the questions. Let's just go back to the software. Here's one question. I use cabinet door tool to design English paneling or 3D ceramic tiles. It is very versatile tool, not only for doors. That is correct. So that is a very valid observation. If you have, I'm wondering if I could show you, maybe I have a project file, but maybe I don't. If you have skirting boards or wall panels, English panels, as my colleague just said, you can do that with the furniture panel as well. Once I used it to make an electric guitar model, because the funny thing about it is that you can add insets and cuts into that. Okay, another question. The handle profile is drawn horizontal but came in vertically. What controls the rotation of the profile? Excellent question. Let's investigate. So if I have, let's say this item, and I want to know what controls the, what was the question again, about the handle. So if I go all the way to the handle, and you see that the handle cross-section profile is over here. If you want to change that, if you want to rotate that or move that, you go to profile properties, and sorry, that was the horizontal path. I want to go here with the cut itself. Go to the properties, and here you can rotate the elements. So let's just hit OK. It's going to look ugly, I'm warning you, but this is the idea. So you can rotate the profile. So you can go back here, mirror even, rotate it back. So you end up with something like this. So now it's getting pretty bad, but you get the idea. So this is what controls the profile. And that's, by the way, it's a general rule of thumb in our software. So whenever you have a cogwheel icon, you can control the rotation over there. And that applies for any kind of profiles. A question what you might be asking, but you haven't asked yet, is how do we get profiles into the software? Well, that is something that you have to draw. So for example, if you want to have maybe like a circular profile like this, maybe it looks like that. Maybe I want to have a C kind of shape, so I'm just going to draw something like that. So one thing here, another one is here, and I want to delete a few lines. So okay, there you go. I have a C shape, and now I want to save this into a profile. So what do? I go to drafting, new profile, define a close profile, and just click close loop, and then the software recognizes the edges, and now I have to I can even select elements which are deducted from this profile. So if it has some kind of islands, you can do that. Let's just hit finish, and then you can save this into your profile library. This is going to be webinar C profile, like that. Here we go. So now I have this kind of profile in the library. So if I go back here, and if I go to the insets, let's say I want to have a hole in my project, I'm just going to go with the plus icon, look for webinar C. Here we go. There we go. So that's how you create that. That was just a short detour, but hope you get the idea. So again, that is what I wanted to discuss during today's show about cabinet design. And these are very versatile tools. Use them to create customized bespoke furniture, wall paneling, electric guitars if you want. So that with these tools, with the combinations of what I just showed you, you can go a long way and you create elements like this. So that is what I wanted to discuss today, and we are moving in a very rapid speed, and we are going to discuss another topic tomorrow, courtesy of my colleague Ilish, who is going to discuss staircases and railings. Now that is a huge topic. You need to know how to create staircases. Not only for that, the staircase is a very versatile and huge tool in our software. It's able to create parametric staircases where the software tells you if the steps are actually comfortable, ergonomic, or if you need to fine-tune them. Same applies for the railings. You can create elaborate shapes, multiple layered railing styles with our software, but that is something that he's going to tell you tomorrow anyway. For now, I would like to thank you for your attention, and hope you had a lovely time investigating the kitchen and cabinetry design tools of ARCHLine.XP. If you like the show, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and like the video, obviously. And I see you, or Ilish will see you tomorrow, but I'll be watching as well, so make sure you ask the questions. For now, I would like to thank you for your attention, and until next time, happy designing!